Hi, everyone, and welcome. I'm Greg Gumbel here with my partner, Clark Kellogg. Coming up on College Hoops Tonight, we'll break down all the big names of the week, as well as give you a preview of some of the huge matchups coming up around the nation in the next few days. But let's start off with who we selected for our NCAA Player of the Week.
Matt was the best player on the best team in the land this week, and with the talent they have, that's saying a lot. He showed us something special.
There were some fantastic matchups this past week, so let's take a closer look at them in our Games of the Week. We had a pair of top 25 teams in an old-fashioned grudge match. Cal outdid Arizona State.
Both of these teams played at a high level and put on quite a show. It was back and forth from start to finish and made for an exciting game. It makes you wish every game was between top 25 teams.
Cal did a tremendous job in the rebounding department. It was truly a dominant performance on the glass. They showed great hustle and determination every time a shot went up on either end. That's always an area that can really be an indicator of a team's performance, and the rebounding numbers told the tale in this one.
And two teams each enjoying a spot in the top 25 got together. Kansas beat Iowa State.
It was a real treat to see these teams both come to play in what turned out to be a fantastic game. They showed us why they deserved their spots in the top 25. This was an entertaining and fun game to watch. Archie had the hot hand on the winning side. His 16 points led the team. Watching him basically put his teammates on his back and single-handedly carry them to the victory in a big game situation like this was stupendous.
Now let's take a look ahead to the games that get top billing on the schedule in the days to come. A meeting between a pair of top 10 teams is always entertaining, and there's certain to be plenty of action in this game. Neither side is going to give an inch in this contest, you can be sure of that.
The Kentucky Wildcats like to play a high-paced, up-and-down-the-court kind of game, and that's going to make them a very difficult matchup. They'll drive to the hoop in transition or pull up and splash the three, and I think they'll run all the way to a win.
And there's another game on the agenda that's too juicy to ignore. We have a special matchup in basketball, one of the game's most storied rivalries. When these schools get together, you can throw out the record books. It's all about pride.
Duke plays a brand of defense that should make the difference in this game. They are a tough team to score against. And if you don't squeeze the orange, they'll take it. I think they'll be in top form for this contest.
That'll do it for us here in the studio. For my partner, Clark Kellogg, I'm Greg Gumbel. Thanks for watching College Hoops Tonight, brought to you by State Farm, the #1 auto insurer. Enjoy the exciting week of college hoops action to come.
Yes, sir. I hope y'all enjoyed that College Hoops Tonight. And we are back with the Goated Legacy Series. It's your boy, RegDolla. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. We just completed another week into the season. We had a matchup of two top 10 teams, Duke versus Notre Dame. Duke ended up winning that game. Let's take a look at the stats there. We had Jay Anthony, 18 points, 7 rebounds, 12 assists. When he be running the show and confident playing his game, good things happen for this Duke squad. Ended up scoring near 100 points. And Reggie Mack, 19 points, 9 rebounds, and 5 assists. Didn't shoot too well from the field, but they still got it done. And Primo Parker, 6 of 7 for the field, led the team in scoring with 20 points. Had 5 turnovers, but they still got the dub. So shout out to him for that. And then that was Duke's only game this week. We already saw in the College Hoops Tonight preview. Duke got a tough road. They got a tough schedule coming up this week. Playing versus Carolina at home. We already know how that game is. The best rivalry in sports. To me, as a Duke fan, the best rivalry in sports. It doesn't get better than the Duke and Carolina game. They played each other early on in the season. And let's recap that. North Carolina ended up not shooting too well from the field. If you was watching early on in the video, they talk about how good Duke's defense was. North Carolina didn't play too well. The leading scorer, Matt Adams, only shot 2 of 10 from the field and had 9 points. And he averages like 18. So to shut him down, and Dustin Day didn't do anything. Shane Baker, I don't know who this brother is. Trey Clifton. He was their leading scorer with 17 points. And Duke absolutely shut the water off for the rest of the squad and got them into foul trouble. The guards were in foul trouble, so that's going to be a big factor going into this week's matchup in North Carolina versus Duke, 5 versus 8 matchup. And then Duke also has another tough game. Reggie Mack versus Austin Mack. I don't think Louisville has played yet this season, so this could be the first matchup between the two brothers. Reggie versus Austin. Louisville, they're 18-5. I'm kind of surprised they're not ranked. I'm about to look at the top 25 teams right now. Kind of expect them to be ranked by now. Like, they got Pittsburgh ranked at 16-7, and Louisville is not ranked. Like, they must have had some bad losses, but I think we could check that. Yeah. Let's see what's up. Louisville is 8-1, same record as Duke in the conference, tied in second in the conference. So that's gonna be big week in the ACC. That's top teams going at it. Louisville is 2-3 against top 25 teams, 5-3 against RPI top 50. So they had 2 bad losses against teams that was outside of the top 100. But they will be matching up this week, and we're definitely gonna get into that. On the other side, UCLA still unranked. Ended up playing Wisconsin, a bad Wisconsin team, blowing them out by 26 points, led by Jabari Mack at 19 points, 5-18 from the field, and 2-11 from 3. Was settling a lot, but Glil Goodrich had a pretty good game for them. Other than that, UCLA didn't really do anything. And Kentucky's week, they ended up being Georgia by 6 points, closer than expected to be. 20 points for Deion Jones and 15 and 11 for Clay Hooper. And Corey Cousins is playing with the pulled groin. Carlton Davis didn't really have too well of a game. Mo Davis had 14 but 5 turnovers. All right game for him. And then later on in the week, they held LSU to 45 points. Dante Carter, who was their best player, was 4-17 for the field. Just look at everybody shot horrible. Everybody had an off night. Their point guard was 1-10. On the other side, Carlton Davis had one of his best scoring games. He had 24 points and 6 rebounds this game. Mo Davis had another kind of off night, 10 points, but did dish out 7 assists, so that was a good sign to see him playmaking. Deion Jones was battling foul trouble and just couldn't buy a bucket. And Clay Hooper, 20 points and 13 rebounds for him. Ended up playing a big role with Corey Cousins, not really doing anything. Dang, Corey Cousins had no rebounds? Damn, dog. I know you got to pull a groin, but you played 36 minutes. You tell me a rebound didn't fall in your lap or something? Like, come on, dog. Then on the other side, Texas is looking to turn things around. They have 8 losses, but damn, they gotta have losses all against ranked teams. Actually, early on in the season, they had those 2 losses. Then they lost to Duke. Oregon is another team that is ranked that they lost to. They lost to a ranked Houston. They lost to Georgetown, Villanova. So other than early on in the season, all the Texas losses. So 6 out of their 8 losses have came to ranked teams. And let me double check that. I'm pretty sure that's right. I got to connect the controller in right now, and it's somehow reconnecting. Anyway, yeah, they're 2-6 against top 25 teams. I don't know if that's like a good. I guess they took care of business mostly against the rest of them. But Texas' schedule, what they had this week, they played Auburn and ended up being 36 points for Jeremy Goodson, which is his career high. That man is absolutely wilding. Getting to the free throw line. He's a master at drawing free throws. I don't know who he's been studying at getting to the free throw line, but he is a master at drawing free throws. And then off the bench, they had this dude who had 23 points. And on the other side, Adrian Sparks, 14 points, 6 assists for him. And then Chance Jackson had 18 and 11 in that game. Then they played Florida later on in the week. And they ended up winning by 11 points. 24 and 9 by Jeremy Goodson. Been really consistent for this team and doing his thing. So now we about to get into the week. Big week. It's probably, hold up. Nah, that's not rivalry week. It might be, but I honestly don't know. You got 2 big matchups between Duke and North Carolina and Kansas and Kentucky. It's up this week. We got great matchups, and then we got Kentucky versus Vanderbilt, Texas playing in Oklahoma, and seeing if they could get revenge against Alabama, who they lost to early on in the season. So what we're about to do is send the week, look at go back to college hoops tonight, and recap everything. So we'll be right back.
Hi, everyone, and welcome. I'm Greg Gumbel here with my partner, Clark Kellogg. Coming up on College Hoops Tonight, we'll take a look at the upcoming big games of the week in college hoops, as well as take a look at all the exciting games of the week. But we begin with a special player who was an easy choice as our player of the week in college basketball.
Cross is our choice this week, and he might be winning an even bigger award at the end of the year. There's a lot of talk about him as a player of the year candidate.
Now let's take a look ahead to the games that get top billing on the schedule in the days to come. I'm looking forward to this game just like everybody else. This matchup has the possibility of becoming quite a little rivalry because these teams match up so well against each other, and it's always a heated atmosphere when they're on the court together. And we have another upcoming contest that promises to be a classic. We've come to the time of year when the conference pictures are really starting to come into focus, and this game is a crucial grudge match between a pair of the best teams in the SEC.
Kentucky should come out on top if I had to make a prediction. Their backcourt is so solid this year, and their guards love to get out and run. That gives them a huge advantage in a game that should be as fast-paced as this one will be.
There was no shortage of excitement on the court in the past few days, so let's take a look at our games of the week. We were treated to a matchup between two teams in the top 25. Oklahoma State overpowered Iowa State.
This game wasn't as close as I expected it to be, but there still was high-level basketball played. I expect to see more of both of these teams in the future.
Sim had the hot hand on the winning side. His 19 points led all scorers. Watching him basically put his teammates on his back and single-handedly carry them to the victory in a big game situation like this was stupendous.
And two of the sport's traditional powerhouses squared off in a meeting of college basketball royalty. Duke toppled North Carolina.
No matter where these two teams are in the standings, it's always newsworthy when historic programs face off. It's a chance to reflect on all the great stories of college basketball while anxiously awaiting what could be the next chapter.
Duke played some absolutely stifling defense. They made the guys on the other side work for every basket, and you can see that reflected in the shooting percentage. They never let up on the defensive end. That really took the pressure off the offense and allowed them to dictate the tempo of the game. To me, that was the biggest factor.
That'll do it for us here in the studio. For my partner, Clark Kellogg, I'm Greg Gumbel. Thanks for watching College Hoops Tonight, brought to you by State Farm, the #1 auto insurer. Enjoy the exciting week of college hoops action to come.
Yes, sir, we are back. Duke, as you can see, ended up being UNC, so they're 2-0 against them in the season. And UNC was building a house, shot 36% from the field. Reggie Mack, arguably a top 3 pick in the up-and-coming class, had 26 points, 11 rebounds, 4 assists, and also 5 steals to go along with that. Turned the ball over 6 times. Jay Anthony stuffs the stat sheets as he usually does, 10, 8, and 8. And Primo Parker gave you 15 as well. Let's take a look at the other side. The backcourt, again, for North Carolina struggled, and it might be due to the length. Definitely might be due to the length. 3 of 14 was Matt Adams. Not another off game against Duke, and then also Dustin Day, 11 points on 3 of 10 shooting. Settled for a lot of threes, 1 of 8. They combined 2 of 13 from the three-point line, and overall from the field, 6 of 24. So they absolutely got shut down. Shane Baker, on the other hand, was the best player for North Carolina, 17 and 11 in the game for him, but also didn't shoot at a stellar percentage. And then also in this week, Duke and Louisville ended up taking the court against each other for the first time. Austin Mack had 19 points, 5 rebounds, and 4 assists, but the big glaring hole in this game was the 8 turnovers. Duke's defense is absolutely great at forcing turnovers and getting out in transition and running, and that's where Jay Anthony is best in the open court when they're playing the up-tempo style, and then you got Reggie Mack running in the wings with them and Primo Parker. This team's just so athletic, and they love to get after it. Reggie Mack only had 12 points in the game on 4 of 10, but it was a well-rounded scoring. We had 5 double-digit scores, and they ended up getting that W. Taking a look at the other teams that we had, UCLA played Iowa. Absolute blowout in the first game. 23 for Jabari Mack. Ain't much to say about that. And then against Maryland on the others, they're on the wrong side of the blowout in this next one. Jabari has 16 and 9. Gologovich only had 10 points and 7 assists, 14 for Dustin Williams. And then Kentucky, they had a bad week. I don't know if they updated the rankings yet. Maybe I have to send it today. All right, so Kentucky ended up losing to Kansas, but they're still the number 3 seed. They lost by 8 points. Carlton Davis was absolutely phenomenal. Looked like the best player on the court. Had 32 points and 13 rebounds, but just didn't get contributions from everywhere else because most of their top guys wasn't in foul trouble. Mo Davis fouled out, had 5 fouls, only played 19 minutes, but had 14 points. Deion Jones was 4 of 11 from the field. Clay Hooper had 10 points, but also fouled out, only played 16 minutes. So their best guys didn't play as much minutes as they should have because they were battling foul trouble all game. But Carlton Davis, this is his best game as a college player, and scouts love what they seen from him in this one. Then on the other side, Tyler Elliott, who's been the most consistent player for this Kansas squad, 25 and 8 points for him, and Trent Bretta had 13 and 5. It's tough to play. It's tough to go to Allen Fieldhouse, which is seen to be the toughest place to play other than it's Dumb and Cameron Indoor, 2 toughest places to play, and it's tough to get a victory there. And then later on in the week, as you thought Kentucky was looking to get revenge, they ended up slipping one to Vanderbilt, losing by 13 points. A shocker loss right here. Carlton Davis ended up fouling out, 4-13 from the field and 7 turnovers. He also had 18. And Mo Davis, he's been a little bit quiet. Getting a lot of foul trouble, Mo Davis. Keep your hands to yourself, my brother, because Kentucky needs you to stay on the court. Needs him to stay on the court. He's been battling foul trouble a lot in the conference play, and he's going to need to get his shit together. And then we look at Texas' schedule. I think this is the last one. So Texas, they ended up playing Oklahoma. Ended up getting that W, 29-9 for Jeremy Goodson. He might be like the Mike Beasley of this. 6'9", just putting up monster numbers, 23 plus, but he's not averaging that double-double that Mike Beasley did at Kansas State. But Jeremy Goodson is a real deal. And then against Alabama, they sent them packing and made them unranked. Alabama was ranked 19 going into this game, and now they're unranked. They have 9 losses in the season, and they got absolutely obliterated. Lost by 34 points against Texas. Jeremy Goodson had 22, and the point guard had 21, 6, and 10. So now we're looking at this week, the games that we have. Texas versus Auburn. They played them 2 weeks ago. And then Texas versus South Carolina. I don't know why they said that was a game of the week. South Carolina is absolutely garbage. And Texas on a 5-game win streak. 6-game win streak at that. And then as well, I think they sit at the top of the SEC, 9-1 in the conference. So that explains why they're ranked number 13 despite having the 8 losses that they have in the season. Then Duke, they played Florida State. I think they met early on in the season. They got that W, a blowout victory. Florida State is unranked, and they play another unranked Clemson. So it should be 2 dubs for Clemson. For the Blue Devils. Kentucky played Tennessee. We saw that in the matchup for the game of the week. And we got 2 top 12, top 15 teams matching up against each other. And then they also play Oklahoma later on this week. They're on a 2-game losing streak, so you know they're going to be ready to come back and bounce back. And they're at Tennessee this game. And then UCLA versus Purdue and USC, a rivalry game. UCLA needs to start racking up the W's. They can't be losing. Especially these are 2 unranked teams. So we'll see how that plays out. We'll be right back.
Welcome, everyone, to the 2K Sports Studios. I'm Greg Gumbel with Clark Kellogg. Just ahead on College Hoops Tonight, we'll reveal our Player of the Week in the NCAA, as well as take a look at which coaches might be looking for a new position in the near future. But first, we give some of the little guys their due respect with our list of the top 10 mid-major teams in college basketball.
Top to bottom, they're certainly not as strong as the list of the top 10 major conference teams, but one or two of them have just as much talent as any of those teams, especially the team in the top spot.
Louisiana Lafayette has a schedule that rivals that of any of the top power teams. The strength of their opponents has been just outstanding, and that's going to be a huge factor in their ability to survive in March. In playing one of the most difficult schedules in the nation, they've gotten a lot tougher along the way. Now, let's get right to our Player of the Week. Clark, would you do the honors?
Tate is a favorite to win this award every week, Greg, and he gets it this week. If there is anyone who doesn't consider him one of the best players in the country, just take a look at his last few performances.
Saying that he was in the zone wouldn't fully describe exactly how he was this week. Everything this kid put up was dropping, and he knew it. Every time he got the ball, he put on a clinic on how to score. When opponents review the film of this game, they still won't know how he did it. There are always a number of coaches at this point in the season who are under intense scrutiny from the fans. How big is the hot seat this year, Clark?
It's more like a couch right now, Greg. You know how hard it is to please those alumni.
That'll do it for us here in the studio. For my partner, Clark Kellogg, I'm Greg Gumbel. Thanks for watching College Hoops Tonight, brought to you by State Farm, the #1.
All right, that was a boring week of College Hoops Tonight. But to recap the games real quick, because we almost at the end of the season, well, about to be in the next month. Florida State ended up losing to Duke, 25, 12, and 8 for Reggie Mack. 21 for Primo Parker. Also gave you 5 steals and 4 blocks. I'm telling you, man, he's one of the best defenders in the country. And also Jay Anthony struggled from the field, but also dish out 10 dimes. Then on the other side, from the prospects perspective, Reggie Mack absolutely locked out Trayvon Moore, and Oliver Ali had 15 points. And scouts kind of like him. He's still really young, 6'10", still raw, but still has a lot to develop in his game, but very intriguing prospect. Then against Clemson, Duke ended up winning 14, 13, and 8 assists for Reggie Mack, one of the best rebounding guards in the country. And then 13 assists for Jay Anthony, 25 for Montez Hendrick. It was his game, his night. Took 16 free throws. That's a lot. Also gave you 5 blocks as well. Very talented player. Then the other games that happened, UCLA versus Purdue. I'm surprised they still unranked. They got to put some respect on their name. Well, they got to beat some ranked teams, actually, because all the teams that they're going up against is not ranked. It might be a real down year, and the Big Ten is looking like. But against Purdue, they ended up winning 19 in the game for Jabari Mack. How the hell do you have 8 turnovers as a power forward? Yeah, that's not good at all for Dustin Williams. And then a rivalry game, UCLA versus USC. Jabari Mack had 5 points. Damn near fouled out. But Galogovic came to save the day for the roster and held it down. 19 points, 8 rebounds, and 5 assists in the game. Kentucky ended up suffering another loss. So they was on a 3-game losing streak. Couldn't get at Tennessee, losing that one. And take a look at his stats. They lost by 5 points in the game. They was down by 15 going into halftime. And Jalen Miller, 19 points in the game for him, 6 steals. Then on the other side, Carlton Davis had 17-7. Nobody really played too bad for this Kentucky roster, but they just wasn't able to get stops. Remember how they were scoring 100 points at will to start off the season? That's not really the case anymore. But they gave up 100 tonight. Then against Oklahoma, they ended up getting that bounce-back game, but just barely. Just barely. It took a second-half comeback for them to get the W, but ended up happening. 14 points, 7 rebounds, and 9 assists for Carlton Davis. I wonder, who do y'all think is a better prospect between these two, between Carlton and Mo? Because I feel like they've been inconsistent, but recently, as of late in conference play, I think Carlton has been more consistent than Mo Davis, at least in his production-wise. In conference play, 14, 7, and 9. Mo gave you 14 and 6, but that really is just Mo Davis getting into foul trouble a lot. Deion Jones also gave you 19 points in the game as the leading scorer for the Kentucky squad. And then the last games, it was Texas versus South Carolina. 27 points for Jeremy Goodson leading the way. Shot 16 free throws. I got to see how much free throws he's attempted per game by the end of this. Then against Auburn, had 34 points on 8 of 10 shooting. This man might be a top 5 pick. This man might be a top 5 pick. I had to make my big board and all that when I'm done with all this and take a look at the stats so I can go through everything. But Jeremy Goodson, production-wise, I don't think there's five players in the country that's playing better than him. But that's it for this week. This is about to be the last sim of the week, and then what we about to do in the next episode is sim through the last week of the season, and then we got conference play, and then selection Sunday, and then the last episode is gonna be the NCAA tournament. So let's get it on.
Welcome, everyone, to the 2K Sports Studios. I'm Greg Gumbel with Clark Kellogg. Just ahead on College Hoops Tonight, we'll preview some of the biggest games coming up this week in the NCAA, as well as take a look at all the exciting games of the week. But let's start off with who we selected for our NCAA Player of the Week.
Fowler is this week's pick, and I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't show up here again. He has just delivered all season long and is making his case for Player of the Year.
Now let's take a look ahead to the games that get top billing on the schedule in the days to come. This game matches a pair of top 10 teams and is sure to bring both teams' fans out of the woodwork, not to mention a fair share of the national media.
Duke would be my pick here. They're so strong on the inside that I believe they'll be just too tough to match up with. It would really surprise me if that talent discrepancy on the inside doesn't tell the tale of this game.
And there's another game on the agenda that's too juicy to ignore. This will be a fantastic battle. This is shaping up to be a prototypical style versus style matchup. Great scorers on one side of the court, great defenders on the other. This is going to be a real showdown. There was no shortage of excitement on the court in the past few days, so let's take a look at our games of the week. We have a real surprise to show you. Not too many folks expected the result that came from this one. Virginia Tech dismantled Duke.
Yeah, Greg, nobody saw this coming. Duke.
We're jockeying for a number 1 seed, but this might throw a wrench in those plans. It would be tough to call them a top team after a loss like this.
Santiago was a man possessed. His 27 points led the team.
Along with his scoring, he was a menace on the defensive side of the floor. It's easy to play alongside a player like him because you can count on him to give you help when you need it on defense.
Also on our list of games of the week is a conference face-off in the SEC. Kentucky got by Florida.
The Kentucky Wildcats made the most of their opportunity to move up, and that's going to serve them very well as we get closer to conference tournament time, even if it's just in seeding position. Kentucky can probably take something away from this win and build on it over the next few games. You can see by the highlights that they were really firing on all cylinders. Coach had a big smile on his face after this one, and I'm sure he's hoping this is the start of something special, too.
That'll do it for us here in the studio. For my partner, Clark Kellogg, I'm Greg Gumbel. Thanks for watching College Hoops Tonight, brought to you by...
Duke ended up getting upsetted by Virginia Tech, even though, Virginia Tech ended up getting ranked after this game, but 29 points, 9 rebounds for Reggie Mack wasn't enough. Virginia Tech has been a pretty solid team all around, been flirting around the ranked and unranked. Richie Santiago ended up having 27 points on the other side, and to pull off that upset. Then on the other side that happened in this week, UCLA took care of business and finally got themselves a top 25 spot at 21 now. Only game this week, they ended up winning 27 points for Galoka Rich. He's starting to find his strides and starting to play like the player that we're hoping to see in the beginning of the season. Also 17 and 11 for Dustin Williams. Jabari Mack, let's not talk about this performance that he had. 1 and 8 from the field. Didn't really do anything in the scoring department. But it's good to see UCLA ranked and at the top of the Big Ten right now. And then Kentucky took care of business. Played LSU again and held them under 50 points again. 21 points for Deion Jones, 19 for Mo Davis, and Carlton Davis stuffed the stat sheets. Did a little bit of everything like he usually does. Then on the other side, Dante Carter had 13 points. Didn't have as good of a game. He's averaging 17 for the season. Then against Florida, Kentucky versus Florida was a game of the week. Kentucky ended up pulling away in the second half after being down in the first. Mo Davis with a 20 ball, and Carlton with 19 and 6. We already know what this backcourt, what the twins duo already brings to the table. And they moved themselves back to number 2. I don't know why they're ahead of Duke. maybe they have better wins than something, but Duke is 25-4 while Kentucky is 20-5. I don't know. And then Texas also ended up being Florida this week, 22-12 for Jeremy Goodson. We already know. He's just penciling him in for 22. And then it gets Arkansas. Arkansas is completely falling apart, the whole team. I think Rico Ryder might have got injured and Isaiah Blackman because they didn't play in this game. Joe Banks had 17 points, 6 rebounds, and 3 assists. They're dog shit. Arkansas is dog shit. They're under 500. If you're under 500 in college, that's bad. That's bad. And Jeremy Goodson had 24 points. So that's it for the week. Let's take a look at the top 25 before we get out of here in this episode. Georgetown still sits at the top of the rankings, 27-3, number 1. Kentucky is number 2. Houston is number 3. Iowa State number 4, and Duke is number 5. And we're getting close to conference play. Getting close to the end of the season, so we got about 2 weeks left, and it's time. It's time. We're already heading into March. It's March 1st in this calendar date. And I want to take a look at who Georgetown lost to real quick. Where's the schedule at? Season John. They're in the Big East. They lost to Villanova a couple weeks ago. Got smacked. Rich Mack has 17-17 that game. All right. Yeah, I just want to check who they lost to. And I think Houston is also up there. They're in the Big 12 now. And they lost to Kansas, so I guess that's a respectable loss. Trent Beretta had 24 points, 8 rebounds, and 8 assists. Oh, my God. Now, this is a great front court matchup. Tyler Elliott and Trent Beretta going up against Troy Mack and Khalif Kingston. Troy Mack got the best of Tyler Elliott, and Trent Beretta got the best of Khalif Kingston. 24 points, 8 rebounds, and 8 blocks is OD. Flirting with a triple-double. Tyler Elliott struggled from the field, 11 points and 11 rebounds. Troy Mack, 21-15 and 5. And Khalif Kingston was in foul trouble, and he couldn't stop Trent Beretta when he was in the game. Other than that, I hope y'all enjoyed this episode. It's your boy RegDolla. We getting close to the end of this. We getting close to the end in the conference tournament, and you already know it's March time, so it's ramping up. It's ramping up. Teams got to start playing their best basketball. They got to get all the other stuff. They got to be down packed. They got to be ready for anything and everything, and they got to be on their best game, best behavior, because it's up. It's March Madness time. It's coming very soon. Like the video. Subscribe to the channel. I'm trying to reach a goal of 500 subscribers very soon. So if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell, because the next video is coming out very soon. Stay safe, be goated, and I'm out of here.